Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right? Eating less, exercising more, but that number on the scale just refuses to budge? It's an incredibly common story. But what if the problem isn't how hard you're trying? What if we've been laser focused on the wrong thing this whole time? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive deep into the science that says the key isn't just about counting calories, but about controlling one single, really powerful hormone.
I mean, it's just so frustrating, right? We're all told the same thing. Just cut calories, it's simple math. But for so many of us, it just doesn't work like that. The truth is, the answer might not be on the nutrition label on the back of the box, but actually inside your own body.
That's right. The answer isn't just calories. It's a hormone, and its name is insulin. We're often told to focus on this one piece of the puzzle, calories. But today, we're going to explore how this totally different piece, insulin, might just be the key that makes the whole picture finally make sense. It's a complete shift in how we look at this.
All right, so to really get this, we've got to challenge that old idea that a calorie is just a calorie. And to do that, we're going to look at two really powerful pieces of evidence that point the finger at insulin as the real driver here. Let's kick things off with a simple, but wow, really revealing experiments. Okay, picture this. Scientists take some fat cells and put them in a petri dish. As you see over on the left, they surround them with all their favorite foods, glucose, fatty acids, a total buffet. You'd think they just gorge themselves and get huge, right? But nope, they don't. They just stay tiny, practically starving. But then, look at the right side. They add just one thing to the mix, insulin. And within hours, bam, those same cells become big and bloated. So what does that tell us? The cells had all the calories they could possibly want, but without insulin, they couldn't do anything with them. It was insulin that flipped the switch and gave them the command to start storing all that energy. It's not really about calories. Nothing happened without insulin. And the proof doesn't stop in the lab. The second piece of evidence comes from the very real-world experience of people with type 1 diabetes. See, before insulin was discovered and used as a treatment, a person could eat massive amounts of food but would literally waste away. Their body just had no way to store or use that energy without insulin. This shows us in no uncertain terms that insulin isn't just a player in the game, it is the gatekeeper. So we've established that insulin is the gatekeeper. But what does that actually mean? How exactly does it control the gates to our fat stores? Let's take a closer look at the mechanics. So here it is in its simplest terms. Think of it like this. When your insulin levels are high, the gate for fat storage is swung wide open. But when your insulin levels are low, the gate for fat burning is open instead. It's basically the body's main traffic cop, telling all that energy from your food exactly where to go. And it does this with a powerful 1-2 punch. First, high insulin promotes something called lipogenesis. That's just the fancy word for creating new fat from the food you eat. And second, and this part is absolutely crucial, it actively prevents lipolysis, which is the breakdown of your existing fat. So, when insulin is high, it's a one-way street. Energy can get into your fat cells, but it is locked inside. It can't get out. Now, getting your head around that is half the battle. The other half, it's all about timing. See, your body doesn't operate the same way 24/7. It's got this natural rhythm, and it's especially important in the morning. It's all governed by something called the dawn effect. The dawn effect is actually this incredible evolutionary adaptation. Think about it. Our ancestors didn't have a pantry they could raid first thing in the morning. Their bodies needed a way to generate their own energy to get up and go find food. So every morning, the body releases this little cocktail of hormones to get you up and moving before you've even had a single bite to eat. This morning cocktail includes hormones like cortisol, growth hormone, adrenaline, the whole shebang. Together, their job is to tell your liver, hey, release some of that sugar you've got stored. The result? You naturally wake up with slightly higher blood sugar. And this is the critical part. It makes your body temporarily more insulin resistant. Your system is basically primed to burn energy, not to store it. This really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? If your body is naturally in a state of higher blood sugar and is resistant to insulin right when you wake up, does pouring a bunch of carb-heavy fuel on that fire with a typical breakfast really sound like the best idea? So what do we do about it? Well, the source material lays out a really simple 4-part strategy. And the beauty of it is it's not about fighting your body. It's about finally learning how to work with its natural hormonal cycles. The 4 parts are pretty straightforward. First, delay your first meal. Second, sleep more and stress less. Third, stabilize your blood sugar. And fourth, understand the surprising truth about your morning cup of coffee.
Let's dig into parts 1 and 2, because they're really connected. The first trick is just this: try to delay your first meal by at least 2 hours after you wake up. That's it. This just gives those dawn effect hormones time to chill out. Second, you have to prioritize sleep. Why? Because a bad night's sleep can literally double or even triple your cortisol levels. And as we know, that raises blood sugar, spikes insulin, and leaves you hungry with all sorts of carb cravings. Okay, part 3 is about what you eat when you do sit down for a meal. To avoid that blood sugar roller coaster, you want to build your meals around healthy fats, protein, and lots of fibrous vegetables. And you want to avoid the things that send your insulin through the roof: sugar, starches, and processed foods. This is especially important because if your blood sugar crashes at night, it can trigger another cortisol spike, which ruins your sleep, and then you're right back in that vicious cycle.
And finally, part 4, the coffee truth. This table makes it all so clear. Look at that first row. Your baseline insulin is already a bit high in the morning because of the dawn effect. Okay, now follow down. Add some carbs for breakfast, and you get a high spike. But look what happens when you have carbs plus coffee. You get a dramatic spike. But here's the kicker, that last row. If you have coffee all by itself with no food, the insulin spike is minimal. The takeaway is so clear. It's not the coffee that's the problem. It's the combination of coffee and carbs in the morning.
So here's a great little pro tip you can use right away. Just try delaying that first cup of coffee for about 90 minutes after you wake up. This gives your morning hormones a chance to subside, and that'll lessen any potential insulin spike from the caffeine. This is especially helpful if you already know you're a bit insulin resistant. So, to sum it all up, here is your new toolkit for working with your body. Number 1, wait at least 2 hours to eat after waking. 2, prioritize high-quality sleep to keep that cortisol in check. 3, build your meals around protein, fat, and fiber. And 4, enjoy your morning coffee on its own, not with a side of carbs. It's a whole strategy based on hormonal timing, not just on counting calories.
You know, once you understand the massive role of insulin in your body's own natural rhythms, you can totally change your approach to health and weight management. So the real question is, are you ready to stop fighting that constant uphill battle and finally start working with your body?